Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Are you ready to learn?
Yes.
Are you ready to hear how we're going to improve our communities and inspire change?
Yes.
And let's make this happen, all right? So, today, all day, you've been hearing about inspiring change, right? So, how do we build community? How do we improve communities through literacy? Literacy? Well, let's find out. What is literacy? Literacy is reading, writing, and math. You know, the 3 R's, right? You're all familiar. Literacy is a foundation for stronger communities. So, how many of you are educators? Oh, quite a few. How many of you are employers? Few. How many of you have been employed or are employed? That's awesome. I think I've hit everybody, right? Yeah. You've all had the experience of learning or knowing somebody with some kind of reading disability or something. So we're going to be talking about that today. So let's talk about kids who are struggling or people who are struggling with learning disabilities. Learning disabilities, kids grow up who are struggling with reading are frustrated. They get told that they're stupid, that they're lazy, and they just aren't trying hard enough. Well, here's something I'm going to give you a little inside tip. They're trying, and they're trying very hard. They have faced multiple failures throughout the day, every day of their lives. So, when you start thinking about that, all of this is about is how they process information because they're smart. So, dyslexia, heard of it? Yes. Yeah. Dyslexia, it's a reading disability. It's a term that we don't typically use, pretty popular down here. What we really talk about are learning disabilities, and learning disabilities include reading, writing, and math, okay? So what is a learning disability? A learning disability is apparent in people who are average to above average intelligence. They're smart. They don't process the information the same way the rest of us process information. A learning disability is not an intellectual disability. Let me be very, very clear about that. An intellectual disability and LD are not the same. A learning disability, by federal law, the definition says you must rule out a learning or intellectual disability in order to diagnose and label a child with a learning disability. Learning disabilities varies. It's individualized. It's kind of like the snowflakes on the screen. They don't pop up the same way twice. Learning disabilities affects everyone their entire lives. Yep, if you've got a learning disability at the age of 7 or 8, you're always going to have a learning disability your entire life. So, how does that impact graduation? 2/3 of kids with learning disabilities get a regular diploma. 10% of those same students attend college, and 20%, 1 out of 5, drop out of school. These are average to above average intelligence people. So how does it impact employment? Well, as adults, 55% of the people with disabilities, learning disabilities, are unemployed. That means they want a job, they just can't get a job. They can't find something that fits, okay? There is no cure for learning disabilities. However, I'm going to put a caveat. If we can catch kids early intervention will lower the impact of a learning disability. It's incredible. This is frightening to me. 2/3 of people with learning disabilities report poor to fair general, physical, and mental health. But think about it. If you've been told your entire life how stupid you are, how lazy you are, how you look around and you just constantly fail, it's going to impact your health. Let's look at the big picture at school. The school districts all have to report how many kids they have with disabilities. And 14% of the population have a disability. And just over 1/3 of the students who have been identified as disabled have a learning disability. That's a large impact. And they're hard to spot. There's nothing physical that shows off what they're doing. As a matter of fact, I knew a young lady that never got identified. She went to Coastal Carolina University, graduated with several presidential awards. She read upside down and backwards, like the book was laying out for the teacher, and she would just read that way. She never got identified because it didn't impact her education. She just turned the book around. So let's look at the language arts here in the state and locally, because these are kind of frightening numbers. And these are 2021 numbers. And if you look at the local district here, 51% of our students cannot meet the expectations to read and write at grade level. 51%. That's a lot. The state makes us look good. Over on the state, 57% can't meet those expectations. That's frightening. Well, let's look at math, because I am very worried about math. Got a math minor, kind of like math, so this is kind of one of my things. In the local school district, 55% of the students can't meet expectations in math. In the state, it's 63%. Does that worry you? Yeah, it worries me. So drop in on all of what has been happening with our kids with disability. Now comes COVID. And we're experiencing the COVID slide. What is the COVID slide? Kids, no matter whether they have a disability or not, are struggling with learning to read, write, and do math. Our numbers overall, those pretty 2021 numbers, are not much higher than they were in 2019. And this is even, and you have to give the local school districts all credit, because COVID frightened all of us. Schools halted, schools had to pivot and turn into online learning. And most of our teachers had never been trained on how to do online learning for their students. It was a struggle. How does that impact adults? 70% of our incarcerated adults cannot read at 4th grade level. Now, that means they don't have the reading skills to manage just everyday tasks. To get a GED, you have to be able to read at the 4th grade level to get into the program. Then they're going to hook you up with a special educator, okay? You're incarcerated. You can't read at 4th grade. You can't get a GED. You're having difficulty doing everyday tasks. That's scary. So what's the origin of the problem? Well, I always taught my students, and I taught here at Coastal for 9 years, and I have to tell you, I told them to think about the origin of the problem. If you've got a student who's failing, who's struggling, you have to ask, what do they know? How are they learning? What's missing? And what are their strengths? Because until you can answer those 4 questions, you can't even begin to teach them. This is where we start, and this is where we move forward. Research-based learning strategies, what are they? Well, they're learning strategies that have been researched. They really work. So special educators are trained to use research-based learning strategies in their classrooms to meet the needs of every student. But I've got a little secret for you. Learning strategies work for kids with and without disabilities. They work for everybody. The problem with research-based learning strategies is they've got to be taught and they've got to be practiced a lot. So let's think about that. A lot of our kids aren't getting a lot of these research-based learning strategies in school enough to really learn them, and I'll talk about that in a second. So they reach out for tutoring. which is cool. I gotta say, I've been watching people tutor for the last few years and thinking, this is incredible. But our tutors are going through and teaching the students learning strategies that they were introduced to in school, and now they get to practice a lot. That's not a thing about teachers, because the problem is our teachers are underpaid, overworked, and they've got too many kids in their classroom to be able to reach out to everyone effectively. So tutoring, what does it provide? A couple of you might recognize your picture there. What do tutors, they can provide individualized attention. They help build relationships with the student to build confidence in their abilities. Our students are walking away and saying, I can do that because their tutor did it. Their tutors have had the uncanny, and I've seen tutors from all kinds of different careers. The tutors have the ability to recognize the intelligence of the students, and they're volunteering because they're willing to work and commit to having that student be successful in school. It's incredible. They know they're smart, and they're going to make sure that they figure out a way to show it off. So let me tell you about a little girl. This is Adriana. Adriana was in 6th grade when she started getting tutoring. She was struggling in school. She was in special ed. She was pulled out for her language arts. You know, that reading and writing thing. And she was in a special education classroom, and her mom said she's struggling, she's not doing well in school, she needs to get tutored. So she started getting tutoring. It was awesome. By 7th grade, in the middle of 7th grade, there was a meeting, and the local educators contacted her mom and Adriana, and we all sat down and said, Adriana is doing so well in her reading and writing, we're going to put her back in general education classrooms. With support, of course, and she will continue tutoring, right? Right. So she did. Cool. Jump forward to this year, 8th grade. She is shining. She is doing her thing. She is getting all A's and B's in her classes. And in January, her guidance counselor said, we need to talk. So Adriana went down to the office, and the guidance counselor said, you need to apply for early college. She said, what? And her mom got called in. We all encouraged her to do it. Now, she had to write an essay to get into early college. Okay? This was frightening. She's a smart girl. She's very determined. She's highly motivated. She works hard. She's extremely organized. Everything you want in a student, right? This young lady just found out a few weeks ago she's on the wait list for early college. Incredible, right? Just because she's got the help at school, she's getting tutored, she's finding all those skills that she struggled with are making it happen. This is her tutor, Karen Haas. Karen has developed a relationship with Adriana that is strong, that has built trust, and they really work together. So she, I expect, will be a strong community leader. So strong leaders build strong communities, right? That makes sense. Leaders can emerge from anywhere, but we have to make sure that they can read, write, and do math. When they can't do that, they can't become the leaders that they potentially could be. Oh, by the way, let me just tell you a little bit more about Adriana, just real quick, a quick story. When she started tutoring, we asked her what she wanted to do, and she said, well, I might go to college. I might become a teacher. She was asked that a couple weeks ago, and she said, I'm going to be a genetic counselor. A genetic what? A genetic counselor. She knows it's going to take more science, more math, a lot more reading, but it's very cool because she's very confident in what she's going to do. So if we're going to build strong leaders by reading, writing, and math to build strong communities, let me tell you about one of our adult students. Our adult student here, Joan, on the left, is from Jamaica. She is a mother. She's married to her husband for a very long time. She's lived in the US for a very long time. She works as a housekeeper at resorts and hotels in the area. She struggled to keep a job because the way that the management at the hotels and resorts would communicate with her was through text messages. She couldn't read the text messages, so she had her husband read the text messages when he got home from work and reply. She lost a lot of jobs because employers didn't have the patience to wait for that to all happen. They needed a response right away. So, a few weeks into tutoring, COVID. COVID hits. Tutoring stops. Joan loses her job, like many hotel and resort people did, right? Joan made an announcement that she was not going to go back to work until she could read a little bit better. She just wanted to make sure that she could hold on to the next job. So she came back to tutoring. A few months passed, and we needed to check on her progress. So we went in to see what she's doing. She goes, "Oh, I've got to show you something." She reached into her pocket, she pulls out her phone, and she goes, "I want you to look at this." I said, Joan, what am I looking at? "Look at this. This is a text message from my boss. I have a new job." I said, "That's great." She goes, No, I can read her texts. And I can answer her texts. And I want you to know, I use a complete sentence when I write back to her. I put a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end." And I went, "That rocks." So she is an amazing employee. Good employees improve companies. It improves economic growth. She's amazing. So the ignorance of, you've heard a little bit about government here today, you'll hear a little bit later about how we can improve government to build stronger communities. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. John F. Kennedy. So, how do we protect democracy and security for all? Make sure that everyone can, say it with me, read, write, and do math. Exactly. So, reading and comprehension ensures that the voters understand what the issues are, right? Writing allows the voter to write to their legislators to let them know how they feel about the issues. How's it impacting me? And math. Math lets them understand prices, wages, how money works, grows the economy. So, that's how we protect democracy and the security of all. So, here's my suggestion. How do we build a stronger community? How do we do it?
Volunteering.
Oh, come on.
Volunteering.
What are we going to do to help build communities?
Volunteer.
Awesome. Beautiful. Volunteer. Find a literacy council or association. Volunteer at your local schools. Help out. Find an organization that actually supports literacy, because that's the origin of the problem. Everybody has to be able to read, write, and do math. That's where we have to work. Building a stronger community together, it helps build leaders, right? It helps build better employees. It helps with governmental issues. It helps with a myriad of issues going on. So, what it also does is help us all understand, because now you know that there's people in your community with these learning disabilities. It helps us all understand and accept that our communities are equals, that they're all here together to work together, right? We're in this fight to win the literacy battle. Are you in the fight? How can we win this? Are you ready to help? That was just a giggle. Are you ready to help?
Yes.
Yes. great, because that's how we build a better community through literacy. Thank you. Dodi Hodges.